Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the show, and we have returning back to the show Miss Judy Williams and Miss Sally Coleman, mothers of Murdered Offsprings. They're coming back to talk more about this big issue that we have in our community of murder with our children. Not only our children, but adults as well.
Yes.
Okay, what have you done? Well, tell us a little bit about yourself, first of all, for our first-time viewing audience. First, you.
My name is Judy Williams. I'm one of the co-founders of Mothers of Murdered Offspring. Mothers of Murdered Offspring started right in my living room. And since then, I just feel that this is a calling for my life to reach out and help families who have lost someone to murder. I have not personally experienced it, but God has given me an empathy for families and sympathy that allows me to reach out and help them.
And Ms. Cole.
My name is Sally Miller Coleman, and I'm the president of the chapter of Cabarrus County. We started in Cabarrus County in 2003. I had a son that was killed January the 9th, 1993 in Charlotte, Mecklenburg, and I've been with Mothers of Murdered Offsprings for 19 years.
And also in the audience, we have Ms. Karen Parks. She'll be talking more about this issue as well. How you doing there, Ms. Parks? They'll be able to hear you.
I'm fine. I'm fine.
Great. Thank you for coming on. Okay, let's talk about what have you done in the community to help in this growing issue that we're having?
One of the things that we've been doing, probably for about 15 or almost the whole time, yeah. We have been, we started doing candlelight services because what we found is that many of the victims were young, they were youth, and the young people would come out to remember their friend or their family member. And we have seized these opportunities to talk to them, to give them a way of venting their anger, their grief, just whatever was going on with them. It's like it became a comfort for them to be able to talk about their friend. So this was a way for them to vent that, so that maybe it wouldn't turn and them go do something, crazy while they were grieving that would take the life of somebody else. A lot of times, they would want to retaliate.
Correct.
So we would, it gave us an opportunity to talk to them and tell them, you cannot retaliate, because then you just perpetuate what we're going through right now. You just put it on another family. So, what we've been doing through the candlelight services, the keepsakes that we give out at the candlelight services, because everybody wants to hold on to a little piece of that person. So they have been, they love getting the Some people have told me they've started a scrapbook, where they have all their friends' pictures in these scrapbooks. And the idea behind the candlelight services is to help them to deal with their grief. It's like a new form, a new way of helping people to deal with grief.
Sally, when you go into your community and you have these candlelight services, what does that do to you when you see the growing number of people coming to support that family?
It gives me a sense of caring, and as we also, we tell the people that's there, don't let this be the end of you supporting this family, because if you show that you care enough to come that day, continue to be there, continue to support them. And sometimes the community needs to heal also, because when murder happens, it doesn't just affect one person or one family. It affects the whole community. So when the community comes together in that way, it shows a positive statement instead of a negative one.
Okay, we're talking to our guest, Karen Parks. How they can hear you talking. Tell us a little bit about your story, about what happened to you.
Well, I was at work one day, and I was about to get off, and one of my employees told me that the policemen were out front looking for me, wanted to know if they could talk to me for a minute. And I thought maybe they were looking for one of my employees. But they came in and they told me that, but they wanted to know if I had a son named Charles Burke. I told them yes. They wanted to know about his car. I told them, the car that he had. And I asked them what was going on, and they said, well, they would get back with me. So when, long story short, the next thing I heard, next time I heard anything from the police, they came and they were asking me about identification marks of him, which he had a tattoo on his arm. And when I told them about the tattoo, then they told me they had found his body over by Concord Mills in his car. So, needless to say, it was just, everything went blank after that.
How are you learning to deal with the loss of a sibling?
Just putting one foot in front of the other. That's all you can do. It's been 8 years. In the beginning, I was more focused on helping the police find out who did it. After that, everything was done. The court case was done. Then the grievance started then. So I cry now more than I did then. So, but it's okay though.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Ladies, as far as, do you see it as more of a black on black issue? Or, is it a race? Do we see more being involved when it's a white on black and a black on black? How do you see that?
Well, I think the numbers tell it all. The numbers say that we for some reason have keep turning the hostility more on each other than we are with anybody else. We don't hear about a lot of black on white crime. We don't hear a lot of white on black crime. Most of what's happening around the country is black on black crime. And I personally, I'm trying to get into this and figure out what is going on with us that makes us turn on each other like this. It's got to be some common element that's going around the country, because it's not just in Charlotte.
Correct.
It is everywhere, and some places have it even more so, like Chicago, Atlanta, New York, than we do. So what is going on with us that makes us turn on us? And we have got to figure that out. We've got to figure out, and I don't know if it's because nobody's saying anything. Maybe it's because it's coming across that, well, nobody cares if we kill each other, so let's just do it. Well, no, somebody does care. There are 3 ladies sitting in this room, and I'd like to thank you and the other people that are present, care about the fact that we are killing each other at record numbers. And we've got to find a way to help us to deal with our frustrations, whatever they may be, if it's because of a loss of a job, or if it's because you're having marital problems, or you're having problems with your children, whatever it is, it cannot result in the loss of life. We have got to find a way to put value back on life, because it's like people no longer care about a life. They think more about their car being dented by your shoe than they do about the fact that you just shot somebody because they dented your car. We have got to get our mind off of things. I still think it has to do so much with things and people not care. Maybe people don't care because nobody showed any care for them. And maybe it's we need to show more love. I don't know. I just know we've got to find that common element within our community that's causing us to see each other as less than human. Because I believe it's something in there that's causing us to see each other less than human. And that's why we can take each other's life so easily. And I have my own idea about that.
Correct. Sally?
I think that we need to learn how to love each other, but I also think that it starts in our homes. It starts in our churches. Stop turning our kids out to just do anything. And another thing, we need to be more aware of the people they hang with, the video games, the computer games, the cell phones, all the fads that come out, and just because your child wants it, you give it to them. I remember going into a courtroom and a judge asked the parent, how do you want your child to show remorse when he was growing up and he slapped you upside the head and you laughed and said, look at little Johnny. Or little Johnny kicked somebody and they said, oh, that was so cute, look at what little Johnny done. But when little Johnny grows up and put a gun in his hand and shoot somebody, you want him to come to the courtroom and show remorse when you never showed him that it's okay for a child to fall and get skinned and to cry. But we don't show children that anymore. Now if a little boy falls, the first thing you say is, get up, be a man. That's not a man. Because if a child falls and they get hurt, it's okay to pick that child up and let that child know that you love it. There's nothing wrong with telling our children we love them instead of just pacifying. We need to quit pacifying. We need to give love, give discipline, and let them know we love you. We love each other. We love each other because you are my brother. You are my sister. Whether we had the same birth mother or not, you are my brother and my sister.
I know we have a lot of support groups. How do y'all network with these support groups, not only in the judicial system, but other groups?
Well, we've been able to get tied into some very important groups that even help us to function. For instance, we are tied in with the Charlotte-Mecklenburg Police Department, which is how we get our reports. We get reports on homicides, and we're now getting contact information. We used to have to go through so much to track down a family, and families would wonder, well, why wasn't Mama there? Okay, we didn't know. And now we get reports, we get a contact person that helps us to get right in touch with the family and get right in there from the beginning to, help them to get organized. And, one of the things we do is we help with not just, we don't just help with doing candlelight services. We do balloon releases at the cemetery. However, there is a helium shortage right now, so we haven't been able to do that.
Oh, okay.
But we help with doing programs. We have done programs, obituaries for the family. We help raise money. We don't have a lot of money to give, but we have no money to give. But we do have money that we actually have raised money for funeral services. So we don't just have just that element of just doing candlelight services. We want to be there to help you any way we really can. But we have ties with the DA's office, and we're there to help families get in touch with their detectives. Sometimes right after, families don't always understand the judicial system, and that's another thing that we've been able to help them with, because they think that, well, if I call the detective and tell him, well, so and so told me they saw this person doing this and they saw him do it, that the police is supposed to take that information and go out and lock that person up. Okay, they need to know that they have to have evidence. And they said, well, I told them to go talk to this person. I told them to go talk to that person. And why didn't they arrest him? Why didn't they arrest him? I said, you know what? They're always weighing the evidence. They want them off the streets just like you do. But what they have to do is weigh the evidence in getting a conviction. Mm-hmm. You don't want them to go into a courtroom and not have all their ducks in a row and the person walks. Okay, if they get found not guilty, you can never take that person to court again because of the laws of double jeopardy. You cannot take a person to court twice for the same crime if they are found not guilty. So what you want to do is be patient and allow them to do their job. Mm-hmm. You may have to wait until somebody get mad at the person and then say, I'm gonna call the police and tell them what they did and I'm willing to testify. Okay, then you've got something going, but you just can't do it on hearsay, because if they could do stuff on hearsay, we would all be in trouble, because somebody could just say, I saw Paul Brown do it, and you'd be in trouble. Sure. So you gotta have evidence. And we want to help them to also understand the judicial system and the way things are processed. And we do that. You got the police department doing it. You've got the DA's office doing it. Everybody's kind of working together to help the families also understand the judicial system.
I noticed.
I think it starts in the home. It starts with the parents. You have too many parents now that is not involved with their children. It's like with a lot of it, you see the parents act like they're afraid to talk to their children. I had a child tell me, we went into the Jackson Training School in Cabarrus County, and the young man says that his mother didn't run her household. He did. And what is that for a 14-year-old child to say? He could run his mother's house because she was afraid of him. The law have it to where a parent, if it hits the child can call the police on the parent. We need to take back our children. We need to take back our streets. We need to let our children know we love you enough to discipline you, because God loves us enough to discipline us when we're wrong. We should love our children enough to discipline them, to let them know, I love you, but I will not stand for you to walk around with guns in your pockets, your pants hanging down, disrespecting people, doing the things that you're doing. We need to take back our children. Nobody else need to take them back from us. We need to take them back. We need to stop it. We can stop it if we stick together and let people know. What we say in Cabarrus County is murder's not a game show. Nobody wins, but everybody loses. Because you can't take back what you can, and you can't take and give us back what you're taking away from us. And sure, the person that killed us, their family hurts too. It was one predicament in Cabarrus County where I knew both mothers. I knew the mother of the murdered child, and I knew the child that was accused of killing the child. And it was awkward to see these two mothers, both of them crying in front of the jailhouse. One was there to see her son, the other one was there to find out why did they kill her son. It hurt both mothers to stand there. And at that point, I was sort of like in the middle, because the young lady that her son had got killed, her mother had called me and asked me to go to the jailhouse and get her daughter. And when I drove up, I knew both mothers, but I had to go to the mother that had lost her child. But also I had to explain to the mother that the one that her son was accused of killing this child, I gotta be with her right now. It doesn't mean I don't care about you, but I need to be with her. She needs confidence. And you know, it's hard. It's hard when you can see both parents stand there and both of them crying because both of them have lost.
Correct.
Nobody won in this case. Both of them has lost.
Yes, ma'am.
Also, I think, because we have adults that are also killing adults. It's not just the children. Okay. And I think we have to help them to understand the value of life. Somehow we've got to find a way to put value back on life. People think more of things than they do about a life. I had someone recently in my neighborhood where the man was upset because some teenagers were walking across his grass. And he'd asked me before to speak to their parents about him walking across the grass, and I spoke to one parent but hadn't had a chance to talk to the other one. And when he came up that particular day, he was really upset. He goes, well, I don't want a path in my yard. And I said, I understand that. He said, but if they keep doing it, I've got something for them. And I said, you don't kill people over grass. You don't kill people over grass. We have got to become bigger than things when it comes to life. I mean, we've got people killing each other over such silly things as something somebody said, or you bumped my car door. I mean, I know somebody, they killed them because they bumped their car door. Or that you looked at me wrong. Why are you looking at me? I mean, we have got to help us to get bigger than those little small things that we think are so important that it causes us to take somebody's life. We've got to get bigger than that. And that's even the adults. It's not just the children. And if we can be better examples for the children in the way we handle stuff, maybe the children may get something out of it too. And realize that, okay, I can't go and shoot somebody because I don't like the way they spoke to me. I mean, we were at a candlelight service one night, and these people came, or we were already there for a young man, and somebody came up and asked for a candle, and the guy didn't like the way he asked him for the candle. They were getting ready to pull guns right there at a candlelight service for somebody else. I'm going like, oh, come on, y'all, we got to do better than this. I mean, we've been to several where people wanted to pull guns out there because somebody did something or said something right then and there that they thought they couldn't outlive. You can outlive anything. You can outlive it if you just let it be like water rolling off your back. But what we've got to do is stop being so sensitive, where people can't say anything to us. Can't nobody say nothing to your children, without you wanting to pull out a gun and kill them. Killing cannot. My thing is, why is it that people have to die? Can't you beat them up? What happened to the little street fights we used to have? What happened to the kick them in the shin or something? Why is it that we gotta kill them? Why do people have to die? So I'm trying to help everybody to understand just that we've got to put value back on life.
How big a picture does peer pressure, self-esteem play in this picture? Come on, Sal.
Because a lot of the teenagers my basic thing, I have dealt with a lot more teenagers. Teenagers now feel like this is the way I can get into a crowd. They want to accept me if I don't do this. Or she talked to my girlfriend. We went to a memorial service, a candlelight service for a young lady. Her best friend killed her, cut her throat, all over a boy. A disagreement about a boy. A boy said something wrong to her. Her friend cut her throat, went to her house and cut her throat. What kind of friendship was that? Who puts a man or a young man before a friendship with a girl? Judy's my friend. Why would I want to cut Judy over a man? I don't think so. It's not that important. Peer pressure now, and it's different than when we was growing up. They may throw a stick on the ground or something and say, if you step over this stick, you broke my mama's back. Now, they wouldn't handle it the same way. They want to be big in their friends' eyes. But once they commit the crime, their friends walk away and leave them and go get another child to take that place and say, okay, he proved to us that he was big and bad. He killed somebody or he hurt somebody up. We need to take back our children. That's the whole thing. We need to take them back as adults, as mothers and fathers. We need to take it back. We need to let them know that we are proud. We're a proud race of people. We got to get back to understanding and learning to love ourselves. Because a lot of it has to do, we don't love ourselves enough to want to make a difference, to want to take a stand. I agree with you wholeheartedly. Enough is enough. It should not be any more parents having to stand at the cemetery and bury your children. But the parents, you got too many parents just don't even want to hear that until it knock on their door, and then they're like, oh, why wasn't Mothers of Murdered Offspring spared? Why they not showing up right now? Well, you're the same people that laughed at us and talked about us, and we've been in the parade in Cabarrus County. You know who treats us and smile at us? It's the white people that smiles. Our own color turn their head and look the other way. We got to start looking at each other and knowing we can no longer allow it.
How do we solve this problem? Because it's an issue that's been ongoing. And I know, how do we educate the community? How do we let them know that this needs to stop? Where does it really begin? Where do we start?
I think that we've got to do something to heighten awareness. As I said earlier, we didn't have too many. I didn't know how bad the numbers were, but now that I know how bad the numbers are, then I know that hey, we've got to do more than what we've been doing. And we've got to get our church community involved. Just think, if we've got more churches in this city than we've got anything, probably about as many, well, maybe not as many restaurants, but we've got a lot of churches. If we could get our churches more involved, that every time a homicide happens anywhere within within the vicinity of their church, if they got out and do just what we're doing now, which is rallying and protesting and saying, we're not going to stand for this anymore. We are tired of this. And then reach out to help those people they see in trouble. Because there are people in trouble and they know they're in trouble. We got to get out of the seats in the church and get in the streets, which is where the real work is, which is where the work is needed, to let people know they are loved and we care about them. People act out because many of them feel so hopeless and that they don't have a future and that they don't have a life. So they can take a life very easily because they don't feel like theirs is worth much. We've got to do all we can. We have got to become our brother's keeper. And until we become our brother's keeper, we're probably going to see more of this. I am my brother's keeper.
Sally, when you go to the courts, how do you see a sense of, how do you learn how to forgive?
You have to learn to forgive, because if not, it's like a sore. It will fester. It grows on the inside of you. It's up to each individual, but you have to learn to forgive, because that's a process of your healing. If you don't forgive, it will eat away at you. It's like a bad sore that you could never get well. So that's a part of it. And when we go to the courts, we really don't say anything. We just sit there in support of the family. We have had the district attorney walk into the courtroom and see us and nod their head, and thankful that we're there to support that family, because lots of times the murderer has a whole cheering crowd. It's a whole list of people over there cheering this person on that has committed this crime. We've been in the courtroom and watch a murderer turn around and look at the family and give smirks. You know, like it's something big that you've done, but it's not. And this family's sitting here and they're bawling their eyes out, they're crying. And the only thing we can do is sit there and support them and let them know we're here. Because like I told you earlier, we just don't go to them at the time of the death. We're there. Some of my best friends now are women and families that have lost children. And that's because we stay in contact with each other. We there for their birthdays, the anniversary of their children's death. We do so many different things together because we become a family. We become a whole new family when this happens. So when we're in the courthouse, we're there totally to support the family, and forgiveness is a very big part of it. And there is a lot of, whether you believe it or not, a lot of parents or families do find forgiveness for the person that committed the act.
We're running short on time, ladies. I really appreciate you coming on. Anytime you want to come back, just let me know. I mean, because hopefully we can have a part 2 on this and talk more in detail about this issue.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for watching the show. Go to YouTube. Turn on Paul Brown Show with guests, mothers of murdered offsprings, and you can watch this show over and over again. You be encouraged. Thank you.